Hello there, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. How's it going? Welcome back to the wonderful world of Team Fortress 2, where today we are going to be playing as the Heavy Weapons guy. And you can probably tell that this video is going to be a little bit of a strange and unusual one, because ordinarily, I don't go out of my way to pick the Heavy Weapons guy and say, you know, this seems like a really good class that fits my style. I'm gonna go ahead and equip these weapons and go kick some ass. To be honest, it's often quite the other way around. If I'm choosing to play heavy, I'll often be ganged up upon by pretty much everyone on the server because you have to prioritize heavies, of course. Or otherwise, I don't really take the rule of playing heavy very seriously. And what do I mean by that? Well, I have the buffalo steak sandwich equipped most of the time. I throw all forms of rationality and common sense out the damn window whenever I play heavy. I'll tell you that right now. You see this little stats screen right here? I'd say about 7 of those hours were probably spent by me trying to take heavy seriously, because I just don't really like it. My lack of interest for playing heavy primarily stems from the fact that he's a rather basic class, and this is in a similar light to Sniper. I don't really play Sniper unless I'm using the Huntsman, because it's something entirely different. Likewise, I don't really play heavy unless I'm doing something like running around as a fat scout, or equipping a buffalo steak and running around trying to maul people to death with bear claws, or punching gloves, boxing gloves, whatever the hell those things are called. I guess they are called boxing gloves. Man, I'm good at terminology today. But, yeah, you can probably see I don't really like my mobility options as heavy very often. I usually like the buffalo steak because it allows me to go faster, and it makes melee heavy, I wouldn't really say effective, but it's kind of hilarious if you do manage to kill a couple of people with that strategy. Secondly, I'm taking quite a lot of chances when it comes to playing heavy, because I understand my extreme vulnerabilities to a lot of different classes, actually. You know the old saying, where the only thing that can realistically counter a pyro is another pyro? Well, in a game of Team Fortress 2, for instance, the only thing that can counter a heavy is literally every other class in the game, and possibly another heavy, because heavy's vulnerabilities are mainly due to his speed. You'll find yourself dying quite often as a heavy, and shout out to a couple of people here. First of all, shout out to the medic in this video, Blick Rickley. I don't know who you are, and I don't know if you are indeed watching this video, but I just want to thank you for healing me most of the time. And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't have wanted to see this, because they'll say, oh man, heavies only looks like an easy class because you got the healing factor and you're able to only be effective if you have a medic jammed up your ass. And that's true. You really are only effective as a heavy weapons guy if you happen to have a medic with you, and this can go for a number of classes such as Soldier and Demoman, only their longevity can often be extended by having certain mobility options such as a shield, sticky jumping, or rocket jumping, for instance. And I also want to give a shout out, of course, to Mr. Mediscout, who plays as a heavy main. You certainly have a lot more courage than I would ever possess, Mr. Mediscout, because you're taking on a role which I consider to be rather difficult. I know, playing heavy being difficult. You'd think that this statement would not make sense in any universe, but to me, it is. Often the heavy experience can either be very abusive towards the enemy team, or the heavy himself will suffer the abuse from the enemy team. And in this video, you will be a first-hand witness to the many deaths of me later on. I die about 3 or 4 times in a row later on in this video after I suffer my first consequences of trying to punch people to death with bear claws. Sometimes it works out, and other times you'll put yourself in a very bad situation, and that will often just lead to your ultimate demise. And that's ultimately the biggest motivator for me avoiding heavy at all costs. I do not like his speed, I do not like his vulnerabilities, and we're going to talk about this one idea I've had floating around for a while now. I thought about this like a couple of weeks ago, and I've certainly given it a bit of thought last night after I had this video recorded, or this footage recorded, I should say. If you've been paying attention to how I play heavy in this video, then you could probably see where this topic is going, but if not, I'll clue you in anyway. Imagine if the heavy had access to some sort of hybrid of the Demoman's Alibaba's wee booties. But it's gonna get a little bit different here. You see, the wee booties actually do grant the Demo Man a 10% movement speed increase, but if this were some sort of item for the heavy, I don't want it to stop at 10%. I want it to go right up to 25%. Why? Because it would actually make Fat Scout somewhat of a potent option. I know, it's a little bit strange, but just hear me out here, we're not going to stop there. We also need to attach resistances to this heavy pal. Well, actually just one resistance, but I think this would be a pretty crucial one. I also want this to give the heavy, I'd say about a 20 or 25% bullet resistance. Why? Well, bullets are universally used by just about every class in the game, even medics. The only class that is excluded from this category would be the Demo Man. But this would definitely be something a little bit more interesting for the heavy, because not only would it make Fat Scout potent, it would also make melee heavy potent. If you ate a buffalo steak sandwich, you'd technically still take more damage, if like it were only 20% bullet resistance. You'd take an extra 25% damage, but that would be cancelled out by the bullet resistance. So not only would you be able to take risks against other classes in a bit of a safer fashion without taking too much damage, but you would also move at the speed of, let's say, a Demo Man with 2 Islander heads, and that's pretty insane. And the movement speed, yes, I do want it to stack with the buffalo steak sandwich movement speed, because I am evil like that. I don't care how unbalanced that would be, I think it would be incredibly hilarious to turn the heavy into some sort of Demo Knight. That's the way I see heavy. I really want this to be a different option for him, just because I like it when TF2 does something different with a class. You know how the Demo Man actually has a loadout that allows him to equip a sword, a shield, and a pair of boots, and just go to town on the enemy team. And the sniper has the huntsman. I really encourage different playstyles in Team Fortress 2, and I also want this to be given to the heavy. The buffalo steak, the way it stands right now, is not entirely effective, and it's really only a joke combination that you could ever consider equipping. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on how I'd want to change up Heavy's playstyle. If you have any equipable item idea that would completely modify the playstyle of a class, not just limited to the heavy of course, I would love to hear it, because these are the kinds of items which really encourage me to actually play as that class. The only reason I play heavy is because of the buffalo steak most of the time. Otherwise, I'm probably just sitting in a corner trying to make friends with the enemy team by giving them sandwiches or something. The only reason I play sniper is because he has the huntsman. And of course, most importantly, the only reason I play Demo Man is because of the existence of the Demo Knight. And yeah, I'd love to hear any of your thoughts or suggestions. Lastly, before this video ends, I'm kind of looking for loadout requests, actually. I haven't had any long time, but a loadout request is where you write in the comments, or on the Steam group as an option, of any loadout for any class that you'd like me to mess around with in either a live or a post commentary. I'll probably be the one deciding what kind of commentary it would focus on, but in the end, as long as there is a loadout request, I'd love to play around with those if you have any suggestions. So do write one out if you want to see me die over and over again using the loadout that you've requested. Well, that about wraps up this heavy commentary. Scout, yes, you, over there. Do you have any thoughts on the heavy weapons guy?
He's like a bear! He's like a big shaved bear that hates people!
Yeah, minus the bear part, that about sums up my social life. So, thank you guys very much for watching, have a great day or evening, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.